Welcome back, everyone. Before we begin, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. This really helps the channel tremendously. Now let's pick up where we left off. The wedding gift was a beautiful antique silver locket. She opened it to reveal two pictures. One of them was a picture of a young boy holding a stick. The other was a picture of a much younger version of herself. Rachel stared at the photos in confusion because she had no memory of them. Then she felt something odd in the bottom of the locket. It was a tiny piece of paper. Rachel unfolded it carefully, scrunched up so tightly for so long. The paper had become creased beyond recognition, but she could make out a few words. "Be careful, 050408, it read. 050408. Those had to be coordinates of some kind. But what did it all mean? What was this strange message trying to tell her? It had obviously been put there for her to find, but by whom? Why? And why now? Her brother Eli had disappeared almost 18 years ago. Any hope of finding him had long since faded, replaced by a dull ache of acceptance. She had grieved, she had mourned, but then life had gone on. She had gotten married. She had started her career. She had moved on. Now, with this mystery delivered to her doorstep, Rachel felt like she was being pulled back into the past. But what was she supposed to do? Throw away the message and pretend like nothing happened? Something told her she couldn't. Something told her that she had to investigate. As Rachel pondered the message, she noticed something. The paper had some color on it. She brought the piece of paper closer to her face to inspect it. It was bright red. It was the exact same shade of red as the red shed that always stood in their backyard growing up. But what did that mean? Was the message somehow connected to the shed? Suddenly, she had an epiphany. She remembered playing hide and seek in the shed as a child. Sometimes she and Eli would hide things inside so they could play for longer. Had Eli hidden the message in the shed all those years ago? But why? And why now? So many questions swirled in Rachel's mind, but only one answer mattered. She needed to go home. When she got home, her husband, Greg, asked her what was wrong. She could see the concern on his face, but she couldn't bring herself to explain. How could she describe the cryptic message she received without sounding crazy? Still, something in her eyes must have betrayed her because he simply nodded and said, "You take care of yourself. I'll be thinking about you." And with that, he left her to her thoughts, alone in the house. Finally, Rachel went straight to the shed. She searched everywhere, but the floorboards were loose. The walls were bare. She was about to give up when she noticed a small hole in the corner. The hole was hidden by boxes, but Rachel peeked inside. She saw a flash of red. She reached in and pulled out a folder. The cover was the same bright red as the paper from the locket. Rachel felt her hands shake as she opened the folder. It contained several documents. The top one was a photo. It was a picture of the shed from the outside, showing the viewer the combination lock on the door. But that wasn't important. Next to the lock was a number scribbled on the photo. 42, Elbridge Hollow Road. No city, no zip code, just a number. In her mind, Rachel raced. Could this be the address from the locket? Had her brother somehow managed to leave a message for her in their backyard shed? She pulled up the map on her phone to see where the address was located. It was in the mountains of Pennsylvania, but that was as far as the map went. There were no details. She tried to search further, but the address didn't appear. Suddenly, she understood. The address wasn't real. That meant her brother's message had to be somewhere else. She continued looking through the file, hoping to find a clue, something, anything. Finally, she found it. On the last page, written in Eli's handwriting, was a name, Dr. Leon Vassar. Rachel ran the name through a search engine, but there wasn't much information available. But what she did find was enough to send shivers down her spine. Dr. Vassar was the attending psychiatrist at the now-defunct Red Key Rehabilitation Center. Records indicate that he resigned shortly before the facility lost its license. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. Red Key. Wasn't that where her brother had been taken all those years ago? Was Dr. Vassar the reason her brother had been taken away? If so, where was he now? As it turned out, he was a lot closer than she thought. Dr. Vassar lived in a remote cabin in the Pennsylvania mountains, just 20 miles from her home. Rachel's nerves were shot, but she was determined to get answers. As soon as she could, she got in her car and drove towards the mountains. It was a beautiful fall day, and Rachel's excitement momentarily overshadowed her apprehension. She loved nature and had always wanted to visit the countryside. But as she wound deeper into the mountain roads, she began to feel uneasy. The trees grew thicker, blocking the sunlight and creating a tunnel of towering trunks. She slowed down, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She was on the final stretch of the journey, and suddenly her car broke down. Rachel's heart sank. She was stranded in the middle of nowhere with no cell service and a creeping sense of dread. But she had no choice but to push on. She left the car and continued on foot. Soon enough, she spotted a faint trail and followed it. It led her to a clearing. There in front of her sat a small wooden cabin. Rachel felt her breath hitch. It was isolated and dilapidated, shrouded in an unsettling silence. Yet there was something about it that felt strangely familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Despite her apprehension, Rachel walked toward the cabin, drawn by an invisible force. As she approached, she noticed the pane on the front door was peeling, and the brass knocker was shaped like a snarling wolf's head. Hesitantly, she knocked. Moments stretched into an eternity. Then the door creaked open and a frail, gaunt man peered out. His face was etched with wrinkles, his eyes sharp and intense. "Can I help you?" he rasped, his voice like dry leaves crunching underfoot. Rachel hesitated, unsure how to start. "I'm looking for someone," she began, searching for the right words. "Do you know a Dr. Leon Vassar?" The man's eyes narrowed. "Why do you want to know?" he challenged, suspicion evident in his tone. Rachel held his gaze steadily. "Because I believe he may hold the key to my brother's disappearance." The man recoiled as if struck, his face draining of color. With shaking hands, Rachel stepped forward and entered the cabin. Inside, she discovered a world frozen in time. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight, illuminating a heavy wooden table and a worn leather armchair. On the walls hung faded portraits of stern-faced men and women whose eyes seemed to follow her every move. In the corner, a grandfather clock ticked solemnly, its pendulum swinging like a judge's gavel. Rachel's gaze fell on a television set tuned to a static-filled channel. An unsettling feeling washed over her. Suddenly, the air grew colder. Rachel spun around, her heart pounding, and found herself face to face with the old man from the door. His expression was unreadable. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The man regarded her silently for a moment, his eyes piercing. "I am the keeper of memories," he finally rasped. "And these memories are not yours to uncover." Fear prickled at Rachel's skin. She realized she had stumbled upon something far deeper and darker than she had imagined. This cabin held secrets that someone wanted buried, secrets that threatened to shatter the fragile peace of her life. But Rachel's determination burned bright. She had come too far to turn back now. "I need to find my brother," she said, her voice echoing in the silent room. "He may be here." The man's eyes flashed with anger, but quickly vanished. He straightened his posture and gestured towards the television. "Perhaps he is," he said cryptically, "or perhaps he is better off forgotten." With that, he turned and disappeared into the shadows. Curiosity and fear propelling her forward, Rachel approached the television. As she stared at the flickering screen, a horrifying realization dawned on her. The man had been testing her. He had wanted to see if she would uncover the secret hidden in plain sight. And now that secret was staring back at her, silent and haunting. The image on the screen was of her brother, his eyes vacant, his spirit seemingly trapped within the cathode ray tube. But the revelation was only the beginning. The old man reappeared, his face grave. "Do you understand now?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Your brother chose to forget. He is better off without his memories, without his pain." Rachel felt a surge of protective anger. "How dare you?" she cried. "You have no idea what he's endured." The man sighed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I know more than you think," he murmured. "I have watched over him for years, cared for him when no one else would." He paused, his gaze distant. "But sometimes forgetting is the only kindness we can offer." Before Rachel could respond, the man hurried to the corner, fumbling with an object hidden behind a tapestry. When he straightened up, he was holding a key. "This will unlock the memories you seek," he said, extending it towards her. "But be warned, some doors are best left unopened." Suspicions swirling in her mind, Rachel accepted the key. The man continued, "Your brother is in the back room. I can show you the way." Relief washed over Rachel, but she kept her voice steady. "Why? Why are you helping me now?" The man looked away, his voice tinged with sadness. "Because it's time for him to be free. Time for the truth to come to light." As Rachel stepped into the shadowy back room, the key heavy in her hand, She knew she was crossing a threshold into the unknown. The man's enigmatic words echoed in her mind. Some doors are best left unopened. What secrets lay ahead? Would the truth set?